Hello, everybody. Johnny Guns Investigation coming to you guys tonight, Thursday, November 30th. Another month coming to an end. Hope you guys are having a great week. Mine's going great. Looking forward for the weekend. It's going to be a beautiful one. So, we're going to get into a story tonight. And don't forget, Johnny Guns Investigates. Hit the like, subscribe, because we have some adventures. So, tonight, we're going to go over a story that was back in June of 26 that I brought this up back in the beginning of July about this story of three little boys that are no longer with us because of their dad, Chad Dossman, 32 years old from Claremont City, Ohio, took his three little boys' lives. The three boys' names, the oldest one was Clayton, 7 years old. Then we have Chase, which is 3, and I'm sorry, Hunter 4, Chase, it's 3. And this guy killed his kids. And I went over this back in July, so we're going to relapse it because now the trial's getting ready to come and a jury being selected. And this guy, what he did was unheard of, what we can ever do to not only our kids, but to anybody. So what this Chad Dorsman did to his 3 kids, he killed them executional style, shot them all in the head. And it's a sad thing. The one kid, so he lines them up outside. He has a rifle. He shot them all with a rifle. He lines them up all outside of his home in his neighborhood. 1955 Laurel Lindell Road, and that is in Claremont City, Iowa. And so he's been planning this. So it's not like he just went nuts. He was drinking, he was on drugs and went crazy that night. He planned this for over a month of what he was going to do to his 3 little boys to torture his wife. Is what this all comes to, it looks like. I mean, we don't know the motive of this story, but I mean, that's what it has to be. I mean, why would he take out those 3 little boys and then leave her alive there? So what happens, he lines up his 3 sons and they're screaming. Neighbors are hearing this. These kids are going crazy. Just imagine this, okay? You have the man of your life who you trust and look up to and want to become one day your father. Well, maybe some of us. And then here you have your trust in your dad, and he's lining you and your brothers up in the front yard and starts shooting them in their head. And the sad thing is, Chase ran away. He ran to his mom. He sees his mom. He runs over to his mom out of the yard. The dad runs after him to grab him out of his mom's arms, shoots the mom in the hand, didn't want to kill the wife, the mother of the children, grabs that child, puts the kid, Chase, back in the lineup, shoots him in the head. The oldest boy that he shot in the head didn't die right away, so he shot him again. This guy's crazy. We have the 911 footage. We have the body cam footage of the actual day, the scene, the arrest of this Chad Dossman, 32 years old, from Claremont City, Ohio, sorry. And we just don't know what the motive could have been. What drove him to this? Is it all because of just getting back at the wife? And this is how he did it? And you know, thank goodness that the stepdaughter, she was 16 years old, that she was able to run away, run down the road, and go to the fire department there in the corner neighborhood and run and scream for help. He's shooting my family. He's shooting my brothers. And the neighbors are hearing all the screaming and the gunfire. He used a rifle. He shot these kids with a rifle in their head, executional style. This is just unbelievable. So now he's in court. He was arrested on a $20 million bond. And And the prosecutor, the attorney is awesome, man. He's a strong individual. He is definitely going for the death penalty. He wants to see this guy, Chad, get the death penalty no matter what for what he did to his three kids right there in the front yard in front of the neighbors, the 16-year-old stepdaughter, and the wife. So they're going to come down on him. And the most important part of this is also the jury, finding the right jury on this trial to make sure, because there's so many people, and I know we all have our opinions and our rights, okay? And I believe in that. We all have our right to our opinions. This is America, freedom of speech. Some believe in a death penalty, some don't, okay? I do. I believe in an eye for an eye. You take a life, we take your life, you know, and that's the way it should be, okay? I believe it should be the parents have the right to say, hey, I get to go pull the switch, but that doesn't work that way. But I do believe that because now they have to find the right juries to put up on there. They'll have hundreds of them they're going to have to go through. And the prosecuting attorney, he wants to actually try to find and have felons in the jury as well. Okay, that's being able to live in this situation in jails, knowing what this guy's in for. But the motive, guys, now remember, hit the like, subscribe. Let's chat. Let's message me. Let's chat about this. What do you all think should happen? Death penalty? Life in prison? Does he have some type of a mental illness that we need to work on? Because today, mental illness is a major thing in this world. And we can't just put it under the rug. We have to really take care of it. There's so many people out there today that are unmedicated that is causing so many violent acts, whether it's on the family, the public, or whatever it is. But what made Chad Dossman do this to his three little boys, his three precious little boys who play baseball, who love to play baseball? These kids were great for the community. The coaches adored them. And he takes their life. He takes them. And like I said, over there on Laurel Lindell Road, 1955, thank God for their stepsister to run to the fire department. I mean, the help didn't get there right away. I mean, they got there as quick as they could, but not in time is what I mean to say. These three little boys suffered. And the dad stood right there like nothing happened, as calm as can be. When you see the video, it's going to make you cringe. It's going to make you sick that this guy did this to his kids. So what do we want to do? Death penalty? Life in prison to see if we can help his mental illness? What do you guys think? I think death penalty. You don't waste any time with this guy. We know he killed his three kids. There's witnesses. He did it. He's right there. We don't even allege nothing. He did it. He shot his kids in cold blood, grabbed the one out of the mother's arms, drug him back over to the lineup just to shoot him in the back of the head like he's in Somalia. This is crazy. So I hope he gets the death penalty, and I hope they come on him hard. And and the other thing is too is they're saying that he's being a model prisoner. No problems in jail, no problems when he comes to court, no problems with the other guys in the prison that he's able to see in the guards. Okay, because I'm sure that they don't have him in population right now. They have him in his own cell. And that's what we have to figure out is what they're going to do. Death penalty, life in jail. How are they going to handle this one? This is a gruesome murder of three kids. I think he should get three. Well, if he does get life, 3 life sentences. But what the hell is that? Let's just give him the death penalty. That's what I think. But we're going to watch a video from my favorite Jesse, long crime, and they're going to show everything. We're going to get into the court. He's actually going to have some great guests on the show to explain everything that's going on in this guy's mind. And this is a shame. This is very, very hard to deal with, that these kids had to suffer this way and get shot executional style by their own father. And the mother had to sit there and watch, and there's nothing she could do about it. So guys, let's sit back and watch this video together. And remember, Let's chat about this. Let's
stand up! Stand up!
EMS is safe and air care is going to go ahead and fly whenever any units can advise.
The Ohio man accused of shooting his 3 young sons to death appeared in court this week as the judge deals with a flurry of legal motions. We're bringing you the 3 biggest updates from Monday's hearing. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Over now to Ohio, where 32-year-old Chad Doerman is accused of shooting to death his 3 young sons. Clayton, Hunter, Chase. They were all under the age of 8. The deadly shootings happened back on June 15th of this year. Police body cam captured what police saw as they ran to the scene at the home, which is right outside of Cincinnati.
His name is Chad Doerman. Chad Doerman.
Stand up! Stand up! Moving.
This is him going in after him.
Stand up now! Stand
Got a gun
up!
right there.
EMS is safe and air.
Can I roll over? I ain't gonna hurt you.
We know you
I
know.
ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You got anything on you?
No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it.
Pretty wild that he would say he's not going to hurt anyone after allegedly killing his sons execution style with a rifle. By the way, he's even accused of chasing one of his boys down, bringing him back to the house, and killing him. During Doerman's arraignment hearing, prosecutors say he confessed to planning and carrying out the deaths. He'd reportedly been planning these heinous crimes for months.
We have here is the planned slaughter of 3 little boys, ages 7, 4, and 3. The first one shot was a 4-year-old, shot in the house 2 times, then sustained 2 bullet wounds to the head, causing his death. The second child shot was a 7-year-old who fled the residence, ran some 300 feet from the residence, and was gunned down from behind by the defendant. He then approached this little boy who's injured, incapacitated, alive, shot him in the head twice from close distance. There were powder burns on the boy's head. And then he went after the 3-year-old. There was a struggle with the mother. He ripped the child from the mother's arms and put a bullet in his head. Close range.
I can't go into a whole lot of facts, all right, because this is a death penalty case, and my goal is to have this man executed for slaughtering these 3 little boys.
Now, the boy's mother was also shot during this incident with a bullet hitting her hand. Doerman faces 9 counts of aggravated murder plus other kidnapping and felonious assault charges. He faces the death penalty if convicted, and he has pleaded not guilty. I want to bring in right now law and crime correspondent and host of Crime Fix, Anjanette Levy, to talk a little bit more about the biggest updates from this week's motions hearing. Anjanette, good to see you. First, let me just start off before we even get into the motions. My understanding is you know about this area and some of the players, right?
Yeah, I live in Ohio, and I do know some of the players in this case, Jesse, and thanks for having me. This is a horrible case. I mean, we cover so many crimes here on Law and Crime that are just absolutely disturbing. This one boggles the mind. Anytime we cover these cases where parents kill their children, it's so hard for all of us to wrap our heads around this, especially this one, since Chad Doerman was planning this for months. That is what he told detectives. For many months, he was plotting this out. And these are defenseless, helpless little boys that he was supposed to be loving and taking care of. As a parent, it's your job to protect your kids. And he was not doing that. Yes, he has pleaded not guilty. But I think it's quite clear from the evidence that we have, he did it. Just exactly what his defense will be, it has not yet been made clear to us.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. Cover murders and the worst kinds of crimes every day, but it's the ones against children that, I don't know, for me, they're the ones that resonate the most, they're the ones that are most difficult to shake, the ones maybe the hardest to understand. Now, just to be clear, before we get to what happened in the hearing, we have not gotten any more information about a motive, right? That hasn't been identified by prosecutors?
You know, I think this is just something he said he had been plotting for a long time. I think this is somebody who's really disturbed. And to think that he was sitting around for months and thinking, this is what I'm going to do, and I am going to do this, is just beyond the pale. So not exactly 100% clear on that motive, other than This is something he wanted to do. And, think about the mother in this case. She's sitting there watching her children be slaughtered. She's obviously trying to do something to protect them, and she gets hit with a bullet. So this is a guy who's got a lot of rage, quite obviously.
Hey, everybody, this is a Morgan & Morgan
Let me get
legal
rid of the
alert.
commercial,
Evidence
guys.
shows
Hold on
that
one
Google
second.
has allegedly violated the privacy of millions of Americans via incognito mode. In only a few for the people. No, with respect to the legal case, is that there were more than 24 motions that the judge is looking through, filed by both by the prosecutors and the defense. And my understanding is that the judge hasn't officially ruled on any of them yet, but we are learning a little bit more about them. And Jeanette, talk to us about first what Doerman is trying to argue he should be able to wear and not wear in court.
Well, he doesn't want to wear restraints. And we see that that's a pretty common thing in cases where he should not have to wear restraints in front of the jury. And I think that we can agree that that's probably something that he should be allowed. The judge should permit that. When there's a jury in the room, he should be able to appear without restraints. A lot of times, the defense attorneys will argue that even pre-trial, they should appear without restraints because those images go out on the news and people see them. He was in street clothes yesterday, and he's got the little belt with the shackles and the handcuffs and all of that stuff. The judge said in court that, look, I'm hearing he's been a model citizen in jail. He's not been a behavioral issue for the people in the jail. He's behaved. I think it's interesting because a lot of times we see people accused of heinous crimes. Once they get into this institutionalized environment, they are model inmates. Maybe that's what they need. I don't know. He could be receiving medication. I don't know. I'm assuming he may have some mental health issues. So there are a lot of things probably going on that we're not privy to. But he wants to appear in street clothes and not wear restraints. And this is not surprising to me because his lawyer, Greg Myers, is somebody I've kind of been in contact with or known sort of through the court system for a while because he represents and has represented a lot of people accused of very heinous crimes, including Jake Wagner in the Pike County massacre. So this is a guy who's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. He's like the chief trial counsel with the Ohio Public Defender's Office. And he routinely files motions such as these when he's representing a client saying, my guy shouldn't be seen in these restraints because you're going to paint a really bad picture of him in front of the jury. So a lot of times what they'll do, and I know what they did in the Pike County case, they have this like vest that they put on them.
Oh, yeah.
And they put it on underneath their clothes. And if they get out of line or do anything wrong or pose a harm or a threat to the public in the courtroom, they can zap them. And all these volts go in there. There was another case that we covered here on Law and Crime, Anthony Kirkland. He was a big behavior problem in the jail. He's nuts. I mean, the guy,
I remember that one.
Murdered these horrible little girl. He's a horrible person. Yeah. Like he's just the worst of the worst. And they had this belt that they put on him because there were times they had to strap him to like a gurney and wheel him into court. We were like, what the heck? Like literally he's like strapped into this.
Like Hannibal.
Yeah, like Hannibal.
And so they had a thing on him. And I remember the judge, Pat Dinkelwacker, said to him during the sentencing hearing, he's like, you're going to sign this piece of paper basically saying, that you've got a thing on your leg. And if you basically are out of line or you try to act up in this courtroom, the deputies can zap you and it's going to be like 80,000 volts or something crazy going into your body. And you'll probably defecate and urinate
all over yourself in the court
right here in the courtroom. So, wow. I mean, there are a lot of things they can do to ensure that the prisoner or the inmate is not seen in restraints in front of a jury. And those are two of the things, the vest and the stun cuff bracelet thing on the leg.
Yeah. And just to, explain a little bit more what you said about what the judge said here, he was quoted saying Mr. Doerman has not been disruptive in any fashion at the county jail. He's not caused any problems. He's been in the courtroom twice and has been very compliant. That will weigh in on the methods of restraint that I will consider at issue at this time. By the way, Anjanette, you covered Pike County? Didn't know that. Let me...
You should say that's an inside
It's a
joke
joke.
to all of us around here.
Listen,
so I don't.
Anjanette, if it wasn't for Anjanette, we wouldn't probably have known about Pike County. We wouldn't have gotten all the details. It was Anjanette's case. I like to tease her about it because that was yours. That was the one you covered.
Yeah,
But-
there's a behind the scenes thing that goes on with this. So we'll
All
just
good.
say all I have to say are two words: Sam Goldberg. Enough said. All right, and we'll leave it at that.
All right. So there was another big issue about jury selection. Who's going to be selected? What questions they're going to be asked? What did we know about that?
Yeah. So, Jesse, the defense is asking for a couple of different things here. They want individual voir dire. That means you have all these jurors sitting around. Maybe they bring several hundred of them in. And instead of just kind of throwing them in the box and doing things the way they normally do, they bring in each juror individually. And really, I mean, for this case, there's going to be an added layer of jury selection anyway, because this is a death penalty case. So they will have to have what's called death qualified jurors. So before you even get to jury selection, they're going to have to whittle a pool down to maybe like 100 people, 100 jurors, potential jurors who have been questioned and who've said, I can, even if I don't like the death penalty, I'm morally against it, I can follow the law and impose it if I see that it's warranted in this case and that the state has proven the elements for the death penalty. So they want them questioned individually. I don't think that that's unusual. We saw that as well in the Pike County case. At least in George Wagner's trial, they brought the jurors all in individually. They interview them. It takes maybe like 20 minutes a person, sometimes longer if issues arise. They also want people who maybe have been convicted felons and served their time to be on the jury. Typically, you don't see something like that. And I'm going to say this because a lot of times they don't want convicted felons on juries. And there was one case here in Kentucky, actually, where Shayna Hubers, you probably remember that case, her conviction was vacated and she got a new trial. She got a second trial because one of the jurors didn't disclose that he had a felony conviction on his record. It was like something about child support or something. So she got a new trial for that. It didn't work out very well for her in the end because she got a heavier sentence. But, a lot of times they'll frown upon that and they don't want people who have had criminal records on the jury. But I think that you could see like a defense attorney thinking, you know what, there's somebody who's done some time and they should be able to serve as a juror. And maybe this is somebody who can understand where we're going to be going with our case because they've been through the system.
Yeah, a couple of things there, right? So traditionally, like you said, felons wouldn't be able to sit on the jury. The Ohio law actually provides a way that you can restore those rights. And I would imagine for the defense here, they're probably saying, well, these are people who committed really bad crimes. They served their time. Maybe they'll have a bit of sympathy for somebody in Chad Doerman's position. I mean, again, he's accused of murdering his children. Not sure that's the best avenue, but I don't think personally I've ever heard that before. Thought it was an interesting motion. We'll see which way the,
I think that's probably
the
a
judge
new
decides.
thing. Don't you feel like that's kind of like some kind of new thing that maybe that's like kind of making the rounds and like the public defender and defense attorney.
I haven't heard it.
Circles.
I haven't heard it. This is the first time I've heard it. The idea that you wanted convicted felons on.
Yeah, I can tell you, Mark Tacalvi, the prosecutor in this case, the elected prosecutor, he wants Chad Doerman put to death. He has made no bones about that. I mean, Mark Tacalvi, I actually have known him for many years. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I can just tell he is all business and, well, this is a heinous case. Yes,
this is what he said. He goes, quote, "This is a death penalty case, and my goal is to have this man executed for slaughtering these three little boys."
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's what he
no matter
wants.
What.
So you know what the defense is trying to do here? It just kind of popped into my head. They're going to have a tough road to hoe here. And Jesse, I really think that what they're looking for is maybe one juror who in the mitigation phase is going to say, they're going to be that one juror
that says no, that's it.
We need to give him life and not send him to, lethal injection.
So it would be interesting. It would be interesting if you have somebody who served time in prison, knows how bad it is and saying, listen, I think he should go to prison for the rest of his life. That should be his punishment. I don't know. We're probably guessing here. But I just thought it was interesting to say the least.
I
I
think that's where they're going with it, don't you? They're like, we need somebody who could be on our side.
I think it's also the sympathy factor. Like, these are people who committed heinous crimes. They might understand where he was coming from, but it could definitely be for the mitigation part. I don't disagree with you. I mean, the death penalty aspect does change a lot of the factors in this case. So I would agree with you. I think it's probably more for the mitigation than the guilt part. By the way, little side issue to talk about that. Not sure if you're aware of this, but one of the motions that the defense filed is they want to prohibit any reference to the trial phase. So the first part of this, they don't want any reference to it as the guilty phase. They don't want jurors hearing it as the guilt phase, which, again, pretty unique motion, because that is essentially what it is. You have to determine if he committed these crimes before you can determine whether or not he should be executed.
And I've seen Greg Myers file this motion in the past. So I think that there are a lot of motions that were argued yesterday. You know, I think there were 41. A lot of these were probably boilerplate motions that are out there. I know I've been on the Ohio Public Defender's website in the past and gone through the boilerplate motions that they have posted on there. And I think a lot of people just take those and then they add their own stuff. There's like a template and then they add their own arguments or briefs or whatever to these things. So that does not surprise me at all. I think that's a pretty common thing. And I've seen that in some death penalty cases in Ohio, because they're trying to like soften the language.
Right.
So that you don't just go in, oh, the guilt phase, well, must be guilty, you know,
that
you're kind of conveying a different message about the system to these jurors.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. There was one other big issue we want to talk about. The motion concerning all of the photos and videos of the crime scene. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they don't want anything that's really, really graphic to be seen in front of the jury. And I think this is a pretty common motion that defense attorneys in Ohio file as well, especially in cases where you have something so heinous. And, you know, all murders are horrible, but this in particular is really heinous. I mean, these are children. So I am sure that the crime scene photos and videos in this case are horrific.
For sure.
I am sure that Greg Myers is going to want to minimize as much as he can those really graphic crime scene photos. So maybe you show one that's a wider shot, or maybe you show one that's this. I'm sure the prosecutor is going to say, look, we have to show these because it's going to the premeditation factor or the whatever, because with aggravated murder, there are different elements and premeditation can be one of those elements. The fact that these were kids, that's another element as well. But they're going to want to show the jury some really, I'm sure, and maybe in the penalty phase as well, photographs that show just how bad and how brutal this was.
Well, we also have to remember that prosecutors
I don't think
prosecutors have to prove their case that a murder was committed and was committed, you know, by gunshots. So sometimes you have to show those photos just to prove the essential elements of the case that this was murder. And those photos, I think there's 350 photos and videos in this case. Some of them are going to be necessary for the jury to see.
Oh, most certainly. Because if you have like the lead detective who's going to be on this, or maybe the first deputy who arrived on the scene and he goes in the house to see if anybody can be helped, there's probably body camera footage of really terrible things that are going to be shown. And that deputy or whomever was the first to enter that crime scene, they're going to have to say, this is how the investigation unfolded. We get there, guys sitting on the porch with a rifle
next to him.
And then we walk in the house and we saw these little boys in the condition that they were. So they have to show that stuff. But I'm sure there are some things in there that Greg Myers would rather the jury didn't see. And so this is not uncommon for a defense attorney to ask for something like this. He may not get it, but you know, you have to ask.
And I believe the judge had said, look, in these types of cases, you categorize them. So there are non-gruesome images and videos. There are not particularly gruesome, and then there are gruesome. And that might be a way that you can separate everything out and try to make sense of it. As of right now, Doerman being held at the Claremont County Jail on a $20 million bond. His trial date is scheduled for July 8th, 2024. And we'll see if that date sticks or it will be moved. And Jeanette Levy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you from Jesse at Long Crime and Sidebar. July. Trial will be in July. So, guys, let's chat about this. Johnny Guns Investigates. Hit the like, subscribe. Let's chat. What do you think about that video? What do you think about Chad? What he did to his kids? And what should happen? Should he just get life? And let's try to see and help this guy, or death penalty? Shot all 3 of his kids, executional style. Not only that, chased one to bring him back in, shoots the mom in the hand to make the kid make her let go of the child. And now let's talk to the crime scene. Over 350 photos of the crime scene. Now, you know, there's body cam footage of everything, photos of everything. Are they going to show those photos in the court to prove to that jury how harsh and how bad this crime was? And I'm sure they will. What do you guys think, guys? Let's chat about this. Unbelievable that this ever happened. And in court, he does want to go dressed in his street clothes, whether it's a suit or whatever the heck his clothing is and attire is going to be, and with no shackles. And like they said, what they do is they do put a vest or a belt or some kind of a shackle on your ankle, but usually not on the ankle, usually a vest, where they like to cover the midsection of the chest and then hit a button if you go out of control, because they can bring you to your knees within a second with 80 to 100,000 volts of electricity going through you. So they'll definitely have that vest on him as well, covered up under whatever he's wearing, or a belt, one of the two. But I'm sure in the trial in July in 2024, he'll be in regular street clothes and not shackled, as his lawyer is going to want to make him present himself the best that they can. And let's just hope that the jury comes to the right decision on this guy, taking his 3 kids out, executional style. It's unbelievable, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Johnny Guns Investigates. Hit the like, subscribe, and let's chat, guys. Come on. Let's figure this out. What do you say? Life? Or do we give him the lethal injection, or however they do it over there? But I do believe we should take his life. An eye for an eye. He killed 3 little boys in cold blood. While one watches, and then the other one gets it. Come on. Life in prison. Guys, enjoy your Thursday night. Have a beautiful weekend. And guys, remember the one thing out there. Be safe out there. Johnny Guns Investigates. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And don't forget, hit the like, subscribe, and let's chat about this. Have a beautiful night, guys.